Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we finally have some Total War news. It's been a while, but patch 2.2 has finally just released, or at least it should have by the time that this video goes live. Creative Assembly have been kind enough to provide the patch notes early on so I could make a video, and we're going to talk about a lot of things because this patch is absolutely massive. Like, I think it's probably the biggest patch that they've ever seen for the Total War series. Anyways, we've got some highlights, so let's talk about them and then we'll go on to the actual meat and potatoes. So there's changes to settlements and garrisons to reduce the frequency of settlement battles, additional flavor of some of the special settlement garrisons including Karak 8 Peaks, Black Pyramid, Skaven Blight and more by allowing them to use additional units. That's great, I really hope they fixed Altdorf though. A character experience rebalance, reducing the importance of victory types and focusing on enemy unit destruction, tweaks to the victory conditions of several legendary lords, including those of Lizardmen, Elves, and Empire. Cool. A game mode split option has been added to rank multiplayer, letting you join separate queues and giving you greater control of your online experience. Alright. Adjustment to AI garrison, strategy, and overall game difficulty. This is the one that I'm most curious about. And finally, plus monsters are invading the old world in the form of Regiments of Renowned 3, and a new endgame crisis brings ruin, death to all. Yes, yes. Okay, cool. So we got some new Regiments of Renown. There's a lot to talk about, so we're going to jump right in and start getting down into the meat and potatoes. So first up, we've got all the Regiments of Renown, and we'll be testing them out later in a video, hopefully later today. But you can see there's 7 in total, 1 for each of the major factions of Warhammer 3 plus 1 for the Ogres. They look visually different, and that's a really important thing. I think they look quite nice. So let's get into the actual detail regarding these new units. The first is the Green Guardian for Grand Cafe, and this is a Terracotta Sentinel, and the lore is as follows. Centuries of silent duty at the edge of the Warpstone Desert has been broken by a stunning display of choreographed violence. Foes stand little chance against the enchanted behemoth towering above them. Aren't they just generally slow? Anyways, so ability, redirecting aura. Enemy units within range of the aura will have their projectiles redirected back at themselves. This is going to be quite interesting when you're dealing with a lot of Skaven, like rattling guns and stuff. And a stat adjustment which increases its missile resistance. So it's not going to be able to just stop every projectile, I guess, but it should be quite useful, I guess. The next is a Bloodthirster called Khorne's Bloody Fist. Even by Bloodthirster standards, the Bloody Fist stands apart. With every savage yet precise blow, it grows stronger, while its enemies are pounded to a gory blot on the landscape. Its ability itself is Gore Shell. The Bloodthirster gains damage resistance when near large enemy targets. I mean, that's not too bad. I'm actually quite keen on that. But you don't really deal with too many large targets, well, depending on the armies that you're facing. Alright, the next is the Frozen Heart of Winter, which is the Elemental Bear for Kislev. More than a mere bear, this elemental creature has all the pride and rage of its beleaguered motherland distilled into its colossal icy form, and its ability is the Heart of Winter spell, but as a bound version. This creates an area that damages nearby enemies over time. I mean, that's alright, it's pretty good. They're pretty strong as it is, so having a strong spell as a bound equipment, yeah. Next is Fernuckle, and this is Uncle Fernuckle. Those who have heard of Uncle Fernuckle know to steer clear well of his gaseous girth. Gotta love that. Lest a torrent of putrid filth descend upon them from gods know where. Alright, the ability is Defiling Deluge, which is he heals himself while damages enemies around him. So this is an active ability, kind of very similar to just combining, I guess, of Festus's stuff, but I imagine much weaker. And spell update, instead of Miasma of Pestilence, he also has access to Spirit Leech. Yeah, pretty good. I'm quite happy about that. Next is the Ogre Kingdoms, and before anything, there's going to be a few areas where text is just cut, like this, or even sometimes in between words. It's a very weird thing, but this is how Creative Assembly gave it to us. Which, yeah. Anyways, the unit itself is the Snowhorn of Morn. Used to living in the subpolar temperatures of the Granite Tooth Graveyard, this characteristically vicious Stonehorn knows how to use the icy cold to its best advantage, bringing far more than mere heft to fight. Just a quick heads up for lore reasons, this doesn't change a Stonehorn. because like the stone horn is turning to stone. I know, I'm being annoying with it, but yeah, let's continue. So the ability is Glacial Defense, which is an active ability. Stonehorn gains increased armor and missile resistance at the expense of some speed. Okay, that's perfectly fine. And ability Frostbite reduces the speed of enemies this unit strikes in melee. Yeah, pretty good. Quite happy with that. I mean, with all these things, we're going to have to see how they actually work because, you know, testing needs to be done and all that, but we'll get that later on during today or tomorrow. Next, we have the Marquee of Massachusetts. This is a Keeper of Secrets for Sinesh. I have such sites to show you. That's it. There's no actual lore about it. So, ability, Feasting on Fear. It's a passive. Regenerates health based on number of enemies who have had their morale break around the Keeper of Secrets. So far, so good. Spell update changes the Lash of Sinesh to Phantasmagoria, and Acquiescence changes to Enfeebling Foe. Again, not bad, and it gives you something different. It looks pretty cool too, so I can't really complain. And lastly, we have the Golden Griffin of Feargy. This is a lore change for Tzeentch, and it's going to be quite strong. The most powerful of the changes chosen confuses and beguiles before swooping in to give his enemies a bloody and merciless mauling. So, ability, increased armor, permanent glittering robe, which, yeah, pretty good. Especially if it's a permanent. I don't know if that's just for himself or you can cast it on someone else. That would be very curious to find out, especially since we have permanent spells. Yeah. Anyways, then we have spell updates. Blue Fire of Tzeentch goes to Searing Doom. Going to be quite good considering that's a really good spell. And finally, we have Pink Fire of Tzeentch being changed to Gehenna's Golden Hounds. Overall, it's quite interesting, and I'm looking forward to testing them out. And you can also see that this is going to be a very long video considering the fact that I've barely gone through it, and we've just done the Regiments of Renowned. Lastly, there's no reason to read over this until we can actually show it off, which will be when the patch actually starts working, which I imagine is now. There's a Skaven endgame crisis, which kind of makes sense. It's a Vermintide, and it's something that we all kind of expected at the beginning. I kind of like the idea of them adding in more of these endgame crises as stuff goes forward, and yeah, hopefully we can get a good Chaos one too. That would be really interesting. So we're getting into the fixes now, and the first is stability and performance. There's not really a lot here, and it's improvements made to the overall stability and performance of the game. So there's 2 points. Fixed an end of turn crash that could occur when a default rebel faction was set to another faction omitted from the campaign. Yeah, so this is like one of the ones that just linked up to the factions in Realm of Chaos, but somehow just kind of go into Immortal Empires for some reason. And then fixed a rare crash where characters would trigger post-battle voiceover lines in a campaign. Okay, so yeah, I've dealt with that issue before, so I'm glad that that's getting fixed. It's something like, it's really annoying. Now, we've got a bunch of gameplay changes here, and I'm really curious about this. So below are changes made to the gameplay rules, AI, and other mechanics to dictate how the game is played. So rules, systems, and general updates. How they play. Events on campaign starts have been rewritten to cover core gameplay elements for every faction. So they don't really tell us anything here, but I imagine it's just to make sure that the AI attacks different locations and stuff. Removed a number of starting wars between factions who were not intended starting opponents. This is unlikely to affect player experience directly, but will improve the performance of AI factions such as the Demon Prince. Okay, so this should be quite interesting because it's something that a lot of people have complained about, myself too. It kind of makes the AI legendary lords just do less, so I'm excited about this. Updated reinforcement battle locations within various faction settlements to prevent unintended enemy behavior. Cool, so no spawning in a location that they can't move to. Effects that increased healing caps are no longer 100 times stronger than intended, so Ghost has now been nerfed. That was kind of expected. Settlements and deployed towers have had their damage reduced to be consistent with Warhammer 1 and Warhammer 2 towers. Okay, even better. I'm actually really happy about that. Still doesn't solve the issues of settlement battles, but it's a start. When colonizing ruins, you can now take a temporary vigor penalty instead of a massive manpower loss. This is great. Yeah, okay, I'm really happy about that. I am super happy about that. That's going to make just taking over ruins so much more worth it. Yeah. Okay, fix some quest items that provided magical attacks despite the legendary lord having magical attacks by default. Alright. Fix an issue where Sword of Cain didn't correctly transfer post-battle if its owner died, resulting it equipping to another lord and hero. Alright. Yeah, I didn't know that happened, but okay. Fixed an issue where vassalized factions would lose objective completion when upon re-uploading a save file. So far, no faults or criticisms because things are getting fixed. Fixed an issue where auto-resolve battle results would change after loading a quick save. Remove the cap for income provided by tribute factions. Oh my god, yes! That's going to be so good for Nakai. That's actually going to literally fix Nakai because the cap was around 25,000. Now you can actually just keep getting more and more cash. It's also going to help the Warriors of Chaos too, so this is going to be quite good. Endgame Ultimate Victory objectives now support vassalizing factions as a alternative option to confederating or destroying them. Cool. Endgame scenarios now trigger the research of all technologies for the respective factions automatically. Ooh. It's going to be cool. It's definitely going to make things a lot harder, but I'm actually kind of keen on that. The free upkeep effect on endgame scenario armies is now visible to the player. Mounted Marauder variants will no longer fire automatically in melee, though it is still possible to manually order the unit to fire. We are investigating other cases of units that gain large amounts of performance from similar behaviors. I'm pretty sure that's the only thing that made those units kind of viable in campaign, but then again, they're probably complaining because, you know, we have the same balance from multiplayer and all that, so yeah, which is annoying. Let people have their fun. Anyways, added recruitment will now provide access to all units offered by the requisite DLC, if owned. Okay, cool. As before, there is a subset of units available to non-DLC owners. Okay, this is pretty cool, yeah. So this means that you can get DLC units. I'm actually pretty happy about that because it's going to make allied units a bit more viable and just more usable. Added an increased trade-focused benefits to the ports of Marienburg, Lothern, Erengrad, and Bordello. Awesome. Campaign reductions to the Winds of Magic cost should now properly affect overcast spells. Okay. And finally, Dragonfang mounts are now properly available to the intended Warhammer 3 factions. Cool, cool, cool. Everything so far is sounding pretty good. It looks like it's a really meaty patch. We've implemented additional fixes for instances of flying units being able to capture points. This time affecting Mage Fire, Dragon Mounted High Elves, Phoenix Mounted Teclis, and Glade Captain Eagle Mounted Wood Elves. Okay, so that's going to fix up a lot of stuff. It's going to get rid of a lot of cheese. I know a lot of people aren't going to be happy about that. But to be fair, if all the flying units can't, then they shouldn't either. Alright, here we have a dev note. The Blood Pact incidents would regularly all fire between turns 10 and 20. Given the duration of most campaigns, this meant that around 20% of campaign battles were actually being fought with a completely different pace and balance than intended. So it's been adjusted the timing of the Blood Pack incidents so that they're more regularly spaced out. Cool. Reduced the duration of Blood Pack incidents to 5 turns. Okay, yeah, that's not too bad. I've not really noticed that myself. And finally, exploit fixes. Fixed an exploit where certain legendary lords from Warhammer 2 could be duplicated in a single campaign. It literally took a video from, well, both Legend and the Spiffing Brit to get this fixed. But I'm pretty sure this was reported multiple times before. But hey, at least it's fixed now. So we're going into races and balance, and I believe that this is the biggest part of the patch notes itself. So general, each allied outpost in Tomb Kings or Beastmen settlements will now grant +1 unit capacity for all of their factions units. That's great. And added mission tooltips to Giant Spiders, Feral Bears, and Feral Ice Bear units. Okay, cool. That's the issue I was telling you about, the graphical issue, because weird file. Alright, so we're going to cover abilities now. There's a dev note here. So in Update 2.0, we significantly buffed many units across all the undead races, combined with the switch to percentage-based healing in Total War Warhammer 3. This significantly reduced the impact that crumbling has on units whose leadership has broken. As a result, we are slightly increasing the damage to crumbling to help with clearing out undead enemies that are falling apart. So for the Tomb Kings, Vampire Coast, and Vampire Counts, damage from 10 to 21 has gone to 14 to 28. Right, I really hope this doesn't affect a lot of people. Like, yes, it's something that was kind of needed because the change did make them a lot stronger. But I know some people who might not be as quick with getting those spells casted or even remembering that you do have a lot of healing spells. So I'm just a little bit concerned that the player base that might not just be too good at the game might suffer a lot more for that. And the next section, which we're going to cover together, is Channeling and Winds of Magic replenishment. Several races lacking the channeling stance now have their own unique method for replenishing Winds of Magic. Okay, cool. So Beastmen. it gets spicy after hours. This faction now benefits from greatly increased Winds of Magic replenishment during full moon events, plus 50% during full moon, plus 100% during lunar eclipse, and 150 during a solar eclipse. That's pretty good. And in addition, Beastmen now gain plus 10 Winds of Magic per turn when in a raiding stance. Wow. That's actually quite strong. That's actually kind of strong. Okay. Greenskins, based on their faction-wide war level, gain minus 3, 3, 6, or 9 Winds of Magic per turn for all forces. Is this not just going to make magic a lot more terrifying for certain races? Yeah, let's continue. Lizardmen, like the rest of the Lizardmen race, Kai now has access to Channeling Stance. Yep, about time. Norska gain 10 Winds of Magic per turn when in raiding stance. Again, very, very strong. And Devotion to the Eagle now grants Winds of Magic power capacity. Okay. Vampire Coast, the flagship expansion stance, now only available at sea. Okay. Now offers the following Winds of Magic options: plus 20 Winds of Magic per turn, own army, or plus 10 Winds of Magic per turn, forces within sphere of influence. It's going to be quite interesting to use. I don't know if a lot of people use them to go at sea, but hey. And finally, Wood Elves. Wood Elf major settlement buildings now grant 3, 6, 9, 12, or 15 Winds of Magic power reserve per turn to local armies. They are magical forests after all. Yeah, kind of makes sense. Plus, it allows you to be a bit more defensive. And Abduct Captives post-battle options now offers plus 5 Winds of Magic reserves. I'm seeing a lot of push for magic here, which is a good thing. I'm just a bit scared for balance reasons because Norska, obviously, raiding is going to be kind of often. The Greenskin War is going to be kind of often. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Alright, we're going into the specific stuff for the races now, so this is going to be quite a lot of stuff. For the Beastmen first, we've got a dev note. In this update, we're raising the multiplayer cost of all Chaos Spawn units for all races, as they were overly prevalent unit thanks to their excellent mass and tanking potential. In the Beastmen's case, they have a notably lower damage than the other variants, so we're compensating for that. Across the board, Giants have not been a popular unit in any race or game mode despite the additional missile resistance. We are again giving them a blanket buff, increasing their armor and weapon strength to make them one of the hardest hitting units in the game. Wow. They'll still be a slow, huge target, so we believe that this should bring them into the meta without making them too oppressive. Well, look, I don't know much about the whole, multiplayer scene, but just Giants aren't really too good. I don't see too much of a use of them in campaign, and they are massive targets. They can be taken down stupidly easy. Minotaurs are another unit that has been performing poorly, especially when Chaos Spawn occupy a similar design space. For now, we're giving them a boost to their hit points, allowing them more time to benefit from their Blood Greed passive, paired with the reductions to multiplayer cost. We hope to encourage their inclusion in competitive builds. They really want to push the competitive stuff, and I understand that. I really hope that it's just not going to screw with everything in, campaign. In terms of general updates, Beastmen no longer unlock Dark Elf ports when erecting a Hearthstone. Okay, fair enough. They also no longer use their basic port in special port locations. Okay, cool. So they get a special port, which is expected. Torrox the Brass Bull. Torrox now gains +1 momentum from the first battle he fights each turn. Awesome. Very much needed. Momentum will no longer decay after concluding a rampage, only when Torrox fights another battle. Okay, cool. And momentum granted at the start of a new rampage is moved from 1 to 3. Yeah, okay. So far, so good. It's going to fix up a lot of issues with him. Then, if we go up to campaign, the Eye of the Gods event no longer targets an army that does not belong to the player's own faction. Yeah, this was something that was kind of annoying. And finally, Oak of Ages settlements will now correctly provide a unique Hearthstone building chain when occupied. Cool. When it comes to battles, this is just the Fall of Man quest battle, which is like how to end your Beastmen campaign. Karlfrans will now spawn during the battle as intended, and updated the intro camera height. So at least you can actually finish the battle now since Franz appears, so this is great. There's a few balancing changes here where you can see the changes to like stats and armor and all that type of stuff, which should affect campaign unless it says multiplayer only, So yeah, this is all good to know. And obviously at the bottom we have some skills. So Crowfather for Malagor now offers missile resistance instead of missile damage to his army as per his Warhammer 2 effect. And the technologies are now correctly labeled as challenges in each search field. So yeah, that's not too bad. Let's move on to Bretonnia. So we'll start off with a dev note here. In update 2.0 we changed the speeds of several horse-based cavalry rosters. However, Bretonnia hadn't received this treatment until now. We'll monitor how the faster cavalry units get on, as well as your feedback as you get the time to experiment with them in combat. So they're going to get a little bit faster, I guess. This is going to be quite interesting. Alright, so campaign fixes. So fix Pilgrim unit cards not showing on buildings for Bretonnia. Cool. A rare softlock that could occur during AI Bretonnia faction turns has been fixed. I am so happy about that. This is going to really solve a lot of issues. The majority of the in-game crashes that I've been dealing with is that. So, fix the unavailability of the Bretonnia brothel building. Cool. I never noticed that. That's weird. Okay, the Fey Enchantress quest for Morgiana's Mirror will no longer auto-complete when constructing any building other than the specified Tower of the Enchantress. Okay. Fix Reponce's starting mission for Pierre of the Arden, banner not completing. Cool. Updated character abilities in the Chalice of Potions, Guardians of Lyonesse, and Sword of Lyonesse quest battles. And enabled the missing army in Reponce's Sword of Lyonesse quest battle, meaning players can now complete it. Awesome. Now, they've got unit buffs. Well, speed buffs actually, more than anything else. And this is actually kind of interesting. It's definitely going to make a lot of stuff a little bit better. Like, you're still not going to be as fast as the Sineshi stuff. You're never going to be as fast as that. But at least getting a little bit of a speed bonus throughout multiple locations. Yeah, this is going to make the cavalry a little bit more viable, at least I hope so. The dev note for the Demons of Chaos really isn't saying anything barring the fact that there's changes for Be'lakor, so we can actually move on. The changes, by the way, are just for multiplayer anyway. In terms of general updates, we actually have some interesting things here. So first up, the Demon Prince can now use their basic port in special port locations. Cool. Campaign. The Demon Prince's deity-specific post-battle captive options now offer an additional effect in addition to glory. So this is great. Khorne is unit experience. Nurgle is replenishment, which is annoying that it's cut there. Sinesh is favor, and the Tzeentch one is winds of magic. I think this is going to be a fantastic thing now. Desperately needed. Honestly, it was just like, he's such a boring campaign. But it's just really nice to get like a little bit of a fix there. We've got some changes here with some skills and stuff, but nothing too big. But that's a major thing. I think that's really going to help out the Demon Prince. Dark Elves are getting a rather large update, it seems. So first up, we have a dev note. The Dark Elf save system felt too passive. Yep, a lot of people said that. So we've made things a bit more dynamic by removing the slave cap on minor settlements. Players can now utilize the global effects at the cost of their public order to focus on capacity, or instead have a settlement utilize around 100 slaves to keep their infrastructure bonuses active. Interesting. Other settlements, in the meantime, can keep their capacity lower and just use slaves when maximum capacity is reached. Once you get a chance to play with it, let us know what you think, whether the system is now too punishing or if it's still too passive. Well, wouldn't this be tested to see if it's too punishing? That's what kind of worries me. Let's just jump right into the general update. So they've cleaned up the redundant help page information regarding Dark Elf slave mechanics, because that was focusing on the old stuff. And here we can see the Dark Elf racial mechanic here. So slavery. Starting number of slaves has been reduced, rights have been increased, and it seems that the diktat of open market has been turned to 0 turns. Ooh, okay. But the several adjustments have been made to the slave drain in relation to public order. If public order is insecure, wavering, or weak, the slave drain rate from buildings now increments from 10% to 25% to 100%. Okay. And we also know the brackets now for capacity that goes all the way to 100,000, so that's actually quite good. I'm happy about this. So far, this should add in a little bit of flavor. I think it's also going to have a little bit of extra cheese. Construction costs have been changed too. Construction time and everything. Wow, a lot of things are being changed. I'm really curious. Unfortunately, I can't really comment too much about this because we're going to have to wait and see. But it looks like commandments are better overall too. I'm actually really happy about this. And Black Orcs are now going to be able to add in a little bit more slaves per turn. Yeah, this is really good so far. And a few other changes with farms, minor settlements, ports, public order and all that. So it's all linked to the slaves. I'll have a proper update video regarding this a little bit later, I think, because I feel like I need to test it out myself. Okay, so let's go to the campaign section. So Rakov's Whip of Agony quest battle now correctly offers a recruitable Black Orc as a reward. Awesome. Malice's Right gift to the Witch King now gives experience to the spawned hero. The number of settlements in Malekith's faction is now displayed when performing this rite. Okay, cool. The Dark Elf Long Victory reward now grants plus 15% income from slaves. Okay, that's not too bad. And fixed Lokia being wrongly affected by loyalty. Yes, okay, this is something that needed to be fixed. Then we've got some changes there, which just updates some stuff, some fixing there. Murderous Prowess, yeah, it's something where it doesn't show, it still triggers, but it just doesn't show. Morathi will no longer be corrupted by Sonesh, so that's great. She doesn't get that trait anymore. And yeah, okay, everything so far is looking good. I'm actually quite happy that the Dark Elves are getting a little bit of a fix here and there. Only a small update for the Dwarves, so let's talk about it here. Rebalance the starting severity of some of the starting grudges for the Dwarf Legendary Lords. Thank you. Let's hope it's just a bit less, because some of them do suffer a little bit. Fixed an issue where the grudge severity was increasing far more quickly than intended. That's also something that was a massive issue. Moved Belagar's Vanguard deployment benefit from his Lord effects to his faction effects. Oh, this is going to be very interesting. And dwarves no longer retain their mohawks after losing their heads, which, let's be honest, was quite the skill. Yeah, that's a weird thing there. Anyways, then if we go to campaign, dwarves no longer declare war on other AI dwarves during the Grudge Too Far endgame scenario. Okay, didn't see that before, but hey, if this is being here, then it's been reported. Fixed an issue where Gotrek could not equip dwarf runes. Fulgrim Grudgebearer's starting engineer now has his unique starting trait, as does Cazador. Does Cazador have a unique trait? I mean, he's not a playable character, but that's kind of interesting. And yeah, okay, everything so far so good. Yeah, it's not fixing all the issues with the dwarfs, let's be honest. They do need a rework, but hey, at least it's fixing up the stuff that's just kind of annoying so far. Not a lot of changes to Grand Cafe, and we're going to talk about these anyway. So fix unintended cases where Cathayan yin and yang buildings could be converted into each other. It's saying yin here, but it's yang. This has already been told to the devs, but I imagine that they fixed it by now by the time that this goes live. Both Miao Yin and Zhao Ming no longer have access to active spells or abilities when in their dragon transformation. Oh, with the exception of the following: Dragon's Breath, Talons of the Night, and Eye of the Storm. Didn't they give them everything because people complained? I'm very confused. Anyways, campaign. The Caravan Encounter, a gift from End, will now only offer units that will fit within the 20 unit cap of the Caravan Army. E.g., if the army has 20 units, no units will be offered. Okay, yeah, fair play. And then just a little bit of... Oh, they fixed the Dragon's Emperor's Wrath. Okay, great, yeah. I'm happy about that, yeah. This is... that was just a big thing as to why I didn't want to play Cafe a lot, especially when I was getting invaded a lot by, Ghost and all that. So, yeah, cool. Interesting little update here for the greenskins. So first up, they're getting all the buffs that the giants have, so giants should be a bit more worth it, and it kind of makes sense for the greenskins until we get something like Colossal Squigs. General updates: when an AI greenskin faction war completes, the event message will now display the faction in question and only display if the player has met the faction through diplomacy. Okay, cool. No mention of the issue where everyone's just failing war, though. Because, a lot of factions just constantly fail wars. I'm not too sure why. Campaign. The Big Barter settlement chain is now appropriately that of a major settlement. Cool. Grimgor Ironhide. His quest will now unlock correctly for AI factions. And we've got some changes to the short victory stuff, so that's kind of cool. So short victory description is now more accurate. Okay. Added the Tower of Torment and the Challenging Stone regions to his short victory. And reduced short victory requirements from 6 to 5. Okay, yeah, so far so good. That's all right. When it comes to Grom the Paunch, fixed his cooking ingredients not unlocking when completing his quest battle or when getting certain character types to rank 15. Awesome. And fixed Grom the Paunch Lord Defeat trait not applying that causes terror attribute. Okay, cool. So far, so good. Skarsnik, fixed faction effects not applying, 100%, plus 100% experience for all heroes. That was something that was kind of annoying. And the greenskin recruitment building now starts at level 2. Alright, that's not too bad. Wurzag, being able to recruit... Oh god. So... No. So you can only get it at rank 30 now. Oh, that's a massive shame. I liked getting the Idol of Gork Regiment of Renown at rank 2. It just kind of made sense for Wurzag. I mean, it just really does. Because if you're trying to go for a theme... Oh well, I guess... all the fun's been had. And yeah, then some usual unit balancing, the changes to the giants, which should make them a lot better. Let's see how everything goes. Alright, moving on to the High Elves, and this one seems like a big update. We've got a dev note here. Although they remain capable in campaign, High Elves have been called out for their overall underperformance in multiplayer, despite implementing numerous buffs to them in 2.0, so we are rolling out a massive pass of multiplayer cost reductions, okay, across the board for ranged and elite units. This will also allow them to bring more troops into multiplayer battles, significantly boosting their overall power and map presence. We're also adding martial mastery to Sword Masters of Hoeth and Law Masters as some of the best combatants in the High Elf roster. We believe this to be not only an appropriate buff for performance reasons, but also thematic ones. Yeah, fair play, but don't say that they don't underperform on campaign, because they are absolutely boring. Like, yeah, they perform okay, but they're just really boring right now. They really need a rework. Anyways, general updates, there's just been some text fixes, nothing too much. For campaign legendary lord quests, granting unique items will now grant the auxiliary if the mission is cancelled, and the High Elf Noble gain influence agent action will now grant influence over time, as in Warhammer 2. Great, that's something that they desperately needed. Fixed an issue where the Cult of Pleasure was not getting the correct elven building, removing garrison. Cult of Pleasure? What? I think that's for Dark Elves, but either way, we know that they've got a fix, I guess. Anyways, moving on to Lifanar. He'll now receive a Shadow Mage at the start of the campaign, and he's got new start positions as he's been moved from Karen Carr now to the Monoliths, which is great. Honestly, now we're going to start seeing all the campaign movements for the factions that desperately needed it, and I think that's going to help out a lot. Then Elfarin the Grim. Elfarin's long-term goals no longer mimic other High Elf goals. Instead, he will need to deal with his rival Grom, the Paunch, to ensure that Tor Yvres is in safe hands, and deal with other nearby greenskins and key Skaven threats. Cool. Increased the strength of Elfarin's second starting army and changed its lord to an Archmage with a custom trait. Awesome. Added unit capacity for Mistwalker units, oh okay, to the Torivres main settlement building, and remove the ability to build the Mistwalker building in this settlement. Alright, okay. And I always get kind of worried when unit capacity comes into play, sorry. And then his Mistwalker dilemma will no longer trigger for legendary lords who have been confederated. Alright, yeah, fair play. We're moving on to Imrik now. Imrik's victory objectives have seen some minor tweaks to better suit his starting position. Rather than migrating back to Orth 1, he now needs to encounter all the dragons as well as destroy the nearby Skaven, Chaos, and Greenskin factions. Alright, yeah, good. I'm very happy that they're starting to update these as they make a lot of sense. The other ones just really didn't. Fixed an issue where Imrik's dragon encounters markers wouldn't produce a generic dragon army to fight against. Clicking Imrik's dragon encounter button will no longer move the camera to the bottom left of the map. That was a weird thing. Okay, Teclis is a new starting position. Okay, cool. So he's been moved to the Fortress of Dawn for the High Elves. That's actually quite nice. And his victory conditions have been changed accordingly. Yeah, okay. I'm actually quite happy about that. I guess Kairos has been moved too, but I guess, didn't they hint that already? Yeah, I think they did. Anyways, battles. Updated the character model of the Talisman of Hoeth quest battle. Assigned the correct deployment positions for the quest battle, okay. Rotated reinforcement armies to closer match the entry locations for Warhammer 2 in the, again, quest battle. It's all quest battle stuff. Okay, cool. At least it's getting that all fixed up, so I'm really happy about that. Right, there's been a lot of changes for multiplayer costs and stuff like that, which has been mentioned before. I'll leave them up here in case you want to see them, but I'm imagining that by this point, the actual blog works, because you know how it is with the blogs with Creative Assembly. They release it and then the website dies. We're still on the High Elves here, where we've got some changes to traits. High Elf influence traits have been rebalanced, bringing the weaker ones up to par and reducing a few outliers, while some have had their effects adjusted to make use of new possibilities introduced in Warhammer 3. Awesome. And fixed Lifanar's Lord trait, not reducing the upkeep for Shadow Warriors. Technology restored the missing units from the High Elf technology tree. Okay, cool. That was a bit of an issue, yeah. And items. Changed the mission requirements for Teclis' Scroll of Hoeth. Okay, yeah. That's all fine. I mean, I'm liking this. So far, so good. I've had a good read of everything. This video is taking a while to produce, as you can tell from the size of it, by the way. Because we're about, what? We are, like, close to 40 minutes at this point, and there's still a lot more to go. Alright, we're moving on to Khorne. While Khorne performs very well in campaign, their units are often too expensive in the multiplayer environment. I don't know what campaigns you're watching, but Khorne does not perform well. In fact, Wurzag normally bitch slaps him all the way back to the Chaos Realms. I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see. Even when considering the high power levels that are designed to make up for the race's lack of magic, as such, we're reducing the multiplayer costs of most of the elite units of Khorne to allow for them to shine in multiplayer. Ooh, that's going to be quite tough. At the same time, the spawn of Khorne underperforms when compared to the counterparts, so we're very slightly increasing the armor. Minotaurs of Khorne, blah blah blah. Yeah, we already know this with the Minotaurs. And yeah, they're just improving the capabilities. Okay, let's go into the campaign stuff. So, general updates. The Gorebeast Chariot of Khorne now uses the correct icon. Yeah, okay. Fixed Khorne Blood Hosts, counting towards supply line calculations. Thank you so much. Now I can actually use them. Cool. I wanted to play Scarbrand. I was just really fed up with that situation. Fix the Skull Crusher Leader Boon of Chaos, only applying to the character instead of all the Skull Crushers in army. Sweet. This is going to be quite useful. Scarbrand's short victory rewards in Immortal Empires Winds of Magic has been replaced with Chainsword. That's pretty good. All in all, that's pretty good. We've also got some changes over here. There's not too much to talk about Khorne. I really did wish they just kind of reduced the upkeep costs for a bunch of units, because he desperately needs it. This is in campaign, but, you know, maybe in the future. And a few other changes over here, and that's pretty much it when it comes to Khorne. So far, so good. We're about halfway through now, so yeah, you can imagine there's still a lot more to go. Not a lot of changes for Kislev, and I feel like Kislev's going to suffer for it, but so far, they've got the Mammoths replaced with Marauder Hunters for Catherine's starting enemy armies, which is probably going to be a little bit better. Added Sleds and Little Grom to Erengard Frostholm special building. Yeah, better for Constantine, I guess. Reduced the port costs for Erengrad, which again, going to be very, very helpful. And campaign settlement visuals for Southern Oblast region to properly display as Kislevites. Okay, yeah, all that is good. They still need DLC, let's be honest. They still need DLC just to bring them up to speed. When it comes to technology, it makes it easier for Catherine to get the Ice Court going, and change technologies that require ownership or settlements to also allow for allies' vassals' ownership or settlements. Okay, yeah, fairly good. I'm still going to try and take over the settlements. I still think that's probably going to be the big thing, and rather than allying it, but having the option there, I guess, is okay. We've got some nice changes coming up for the Lizardmen, so let's talk about this. First, as a dev note, Lizardmen have been performing very well since the changes we introduced in 2.0. Yeah, those changes were actually fairly decent. We will keep an eye on them as we consider further tweaks for roster diversity. Keep the feedback coming. For now, we've only added a cooldown to Lord Croak's Deliverance of Itza spells, as these are hugely powerful and should conform with the norm of our spell systems regardless. Okay, but there's a lot more other changes. So fix the bug where the alignment of Monuments Commandment was providing global construction time reduction instead of provincial. Yeah, it was kind of what was helping out a little bit, I think. Nakai is no longer too zoomed in to the character screen. Okay, fine. A broken visual link in Nakai's technology tree has been fixed. Cool. Fixed an issue where Coatl units would not be recruitable. Okay, if you own the Silence of the Fury DLC, but not the Prophet and the Warlock. Weird. Tic-Tac-Toe will now receive a Skink Chief with a unique trait at the start of the campaign. Cool. Krokgar's long victory objectives no longer target Lustria, and instead focus on eliminating the forces of destruction and chaos nearby, as well as ensuring nearby jungles are in safe hands. Okay, cool. His short victory objective has also been... Okay, yeah, they've updated that too. Kind of makes sense. Fix an issue where raising or sacking a Skaven settlement would not count towards Krokgar's Mace of... Yeah, that was an issue. That was an issue, so I'm actually really glad to see that going. Maybe I'll play Krokgar now. When it comes to Nakai, he's had the long victory conditions have been changed, as now they focus more on dealing with the Servants of Darkness in the east, with the exception of Clan Pestilence in Lustria. Oh, so you have to go to Lustria? I guess it makes sense for him, because you can just take the sea lane. If Clan Pestilence is still alive once Nakai reaches his short victory, he'll receive a dilemma allowing him to spawn a wandering army, to help in Lustria. Okay, cool. That's actually not too bad. Added the Old Ones favor value to Nakai's temples of the Old Ones panel. Cool, cool, cool. And remove the duplicated experience effect on the Sentinel Hall building. Okay, fair. This just kind of makes me worried that we're going to go down to the Skaven section and there's not going to be any updates for Clan Pestilence. As usual. Right, we got some details here for Oxyotl. Fix Oxyotl's visions of the Old Ones, spawning extremely strong enemy armies in the early game. Okay. Fix Oxyotl's teleportation cooldown. He is now limited to teleporting once per turn. It's going to take a lot of fun off him. I'm really disappointed about that, because I thought it was actually just really fun like that. Everything else is good changes overall. I'm not keen on the cooldowns as much for Deliverance of Itza. Maybe they should just be a little bit less, because they're very strong, and it would just be nice to have. Keep in mind that this is campaign, right? Let people have some fun with it. It doesn't have to matter that it's a little bit broken. It's the case of just fun factor. Alright, we're jumping into Norska now. So, dev note first. This time around, Norska only receives some minor changes. Ice Wolves in particular have been performing significantly worse than Fleshhounds while being in the similar cost bracket, okay? As well as we're bumping up their combat performance and slightly reducing their multiplayer cost, okay? Additionally, we are also slightly increasing the leadership of Nullskin and Chaos Troll units, matching those of the Greenskin variants and allowing them to remain in combat a little longer. I actually really like this, as I just can't feel a reason to use Trolls even when playing as Frog. So yeah, this should be good. General updates. Remove secondary building requirements for all units. Thank you so much. And moved unlocks for chariot units to the Smith chain. Okay, yeah, but like just removing the secondary stuff is just great, right? The Smith chain effects have been changed ever so slightly. That's actually kind of good. Offering change effects has also been changed. Yeah, I mean, all in all, it's all good. There is a nerf to income, though, as you can tell, which is going to be a little bit noticeable, I think, for loads of Norska players. I think that's going to be a bit of a nerf in overall, but we'll have to wait and see and play ourselves to be able to get a proper, just see how everything's going there. Weirdly enough, we have a second dev note, which is we can see that players are enjoying Norska now, although there have been a lot of comments about the ease of their campaign. Have there? I'm just saying, you know. We want to retain their naval-based expansion pattern and their strong focus on naval operations. Well, maybe if we had like a naval DLC, you know. So we have therefore reduced their land-based economy. Oh god. This should also put a bit more emphasis on devoting raises to the gods without players creating a bit of a static economy when needed. Yeah, fair, okay. I'll agree with that. Then they fixed the quest battles for the monster hunts, which is great. And Skeggy settlements in southern Nagaron have been removed and returned to the neighboring Dark Elf factions. Skeggy's gone? Oh, right, the northern parts. Okay, fair. Yeah, okay. That made them a bit too strong, and it was a bit of an issue sometimes for Mazdamundi. So, yeah, I can't complain about this. Then we've got some changes. The Giants obviously got some effects change. The stats on the Norskan Ice Wolves are pretty good now, so yeah, so far so good. Literally no fixes for Nurgle. Well, yeah, just some changes to multiplayer, but yeah, I really wish they'd just do something. Like, we've had a few patches already, but Nurgle still does not feel good. Yeah, he's a lot better now, because obviously you have access to, you know, the Warriors of Chaos of Nurgle, but It's kind of disappointing. I will say I'm still really disappointed with how Nurgle plays. A little bit disappointing again, but same thing with the ogres. I just wish they'd just be turned into hordes. Well, keeping settlements, but having a horde function, because I feel like that would just solve a lot of issues. On the plus side, we do have the fact that Skrag has been moved, and we have a tech which now gives a +1 camp limit for every level 5 construction, which I think is really, really good. I think that at least it gives us more camps. And I really hope that they just come back to the ogres, because everything was so good. All the factions, barring Nurgle, are doing really, really well. And yes, some of them do need help, but like the ogres being an extra cost, you know, should have a little bit of priority. Alright, so now we're moving on to the Skaven, and there's actually quite a few things to talk about here. So the mass of the Skaven Doom Wheels needed a bump, especially since similar chariots significantly weigh more. That's cool. So yeah, you should be able to just use them a bit more better. Yeah, so that's fine. General updates. Warlock Engineers Heroes once again experience a 10-turn cooldown when establishing Undercities. Yeah, that kind of makes sense because it was a bit broken. Added missing settlement icons for resources and strategic locations for Crookback Mountain. Cool. Where are we here? Improved Skaven AI construction to reduce the amount of Skaven save armies. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was just such an annoying thing. So yeah, I'm really, really happy about that. Fix an issue where the Plague Priest from the Pestilence scheme was not spreading plagues. Okay, cool. Then we got Death Notes. Okay, so we're continuing to iterate on the faction and the Lord effects of all the Lords. The goal is to ensure that every character has their own thematic playstyle that incorporates any new mechanics and systems added since their original introduction. Thank you. Thank you. This is going to be really, really good. So we've got a dev note regarding clan wars. Clan wars are known for a most unskaven-like loyalty. So we're representing this by giving Queek access to cheaper, more frequent uses of Menace Below, as well as cheaper clan rats and storm vermin. So the following changes have been made to the faction effects. Okay. -2 loyalty for Graciers. Yep. Quick no longer steals a percentage of XP from Lords. Oh, that's a shame. It was a good way to kind of level him up. Food cost reduced by 33% for the Menace Below users. Great, great, great. Players can now purchase up to 5+ additional Menace Below before battle. Insane. And reduce upkeep for Clan Rats and Storm Vermin by 25% faction-wide. Awesome, awesome. So this is then, we go into the Lord effects, right? And the Lord effects themselves, the -50% has been reduced, which makes sense because you're getting it faction-wide now, right? And that was just Lord armies before. Added -20 leadership for enemy lords and heroes in the local region, pretty decent. Weapon strength and melee attack buffs when fighting dwarfs and greenskins now now apply force-wide. Ooh, lovely. Okay, yeah, Queek's going to get a lovely buff there. Melee attack buff when fighting against dwarfs and greenskins changed from +10 to +10? Oh, +10%. Okay, yeah, so from +10 to +10%. Okay. It's very late, as you can imagine. It's close to 4 a.m. and I'm only on page, 19 out of 35? And then finally, Carrack 8 Peaks. Controlling Carrack 8 Peaks as Queek now grants Frenzy for all Clan Rats and Storm Vermin. Yeah, pretty happy with this. This is pretty tasty. And we have a nice little update here for Tretch, which should change a bunch of things. Even the devs take note of it. So Tretch's original bonuses for breaking treaties were not really worth the major reliability cost. No, they weren't. We've reworked them to instead provide major bonuses on any war declaration, rewarding the player for setting up cunning schemes and eliminating their opponents in rapid... God, again, this is... unexpected attacks. I hate when it just cuts here. Anyways, let's just talk about the rest because all the details are pretty much here. So the betrayal bonus has been reworked. Tretch's faction now gains the following bonuses to all armies for 3 turns whenever he declares war: plus 25% ambush success chance, plus 50% enemy reinforcement time, vanguard deployment, and plus 1 uses of Menace Below. Yeah, freaking great. I'm really happy about that. That's freaking awesome. Faction effects have been changed here, so plus 1 armor and base weapon damage attack per unit experience rank for Clan Rats and Storm Vermin, but you lose the plus 3 rank for Storm Vermin. Yeah, it kind of makes sense, and it kind of levels out, so that's fine. And the Lord effects have been changed. So added a tribute, devastating flanker for all units, but it removes Vanguard. And I think that works out really well. It kind of takes you back to how he actually played on the tabletop. So yeah, that's all perfectly fine. We got a few changes over here, just making sure stuff like Frot stuff works, or, you know, the Warlock Engineer, graphical issues, but all in all, yeah, also all good. Not a lot of changes to Slaanesh, which is fine. Slaanesh is in a very good place. They're giving a little bit of armor piercing to the House Scourge units, which, you know, made sense and should have been there since the beginning. However, I guess, you know, the Champions of Chaos DLC was very, very, very good to them. So, yeah, I can't really complain. Like, I would still love a little bit more Slaanesh stuff, but yeah. On the plus side, the Disciple armies will no longer count towards supply lines, and that's a really big thing. And a little change to Nakari's objectives, which is just that you can subjugate your enemies, which is going to make the campaign a lot easier. Oh, and a nice change here is Disciple armies that are summoned via Slaanesh's Unholy Manifestation will now scale in size based on the local Slaanesh corruption. So other than that, yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Again, mostly focusing around just multiplayer stuff, and it's helping out a little bit with the stuff with Hell Scourges. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. Alright, we're at the Empire now. So general updates. Some padding has been added between the Empire technology groups so they appear nice and neat. So I guess extra techs, is that what they mean? Empire factions can no longer bypass the 5-turn cooldown on Confederation through their Oh wow, that's a bit crap. Okay. Elector counts tweaks. Let's see if this fixes it. Right, elector counts can now be invited to join wars. Okay, this is going to be good. If you can invite them to join wars, if everything works. I mean, diplomacy is still a little shit there. Maybe it can get fixed up and be a bit more useful. Greatly reduce the reinforcement delay and remove the cost for moving the reinforcement point in Empire Elector reinforcement battles. It's just those things, though. Okay. I mean, most of those you just auto-resolve, don't you? Added extra cavalry units to Empire Elector reinforcement battles to help with the larger map sizes. Alright, yeah. Previously, the player would receive an Imperial Authority penalty when the Elector count capitals were raised, but not when they were occupied. This produced strange outcomes. For example, it was considered fine if Festus occupied Hoxrund, but not if you raised it. Now, the penalty will apply to any non-Empire faction. Oh, God. Okay. That's going to be a bit annoying. Since Sylvania is occupied on turn 1, we've increased the buffer from when penalties kick in from 1 to 2. Okay, yeah, okay. It just makes it sound like it's going to get more complicated. We'll read on, though. Region tagging. Elector counts now use the region tagging system present in Champions of Chaos. Players now gift a broader set of regions to the relevant elector counts, including ones not owned by the elector camp at the campaign start. This might fix a few things. Authority is now gained by returning an elector's capital. Just the capital? Rather than reviving them from the death. This removes situations where it is better to allow the elector count to die rather than save them. Alright, so, yeah, authority is something else. I was thinking of the liking system, but okay. Note that players need to start a new campaign for this to be implemented. Yeah, fair. I like it, but I'm not too sure. We're going to have to wait and see exactly what is changing, but we'll go from there, I guess. Okay, we got campaign changes here. Fixed an issue where Karl Franz's short victory objective would sometimes abort. Yep. I've had that. Karl Franz will now receive a guaranteed Wizard of a random type at the start of his second turn. Awesome, that's back. I'm so happy because, you know, having some magic's always very useful. Added a missing garrison building chain in Altdorf. Yeah, it's been a while, but it's finally back. Reduced the unlock of Castle Reich and Altdorf to tier 3. Cool, cool. Marcus Wolfhart's long victory. Now, yeah, okay, so that focuses on Lustria. That's good. Armies spawned from Marcus Wolfhart's hostility mechanic will now only spawn from certain specific locations in Lustria. Oh, so you can plan ahead. Cool, cool. The Altdorf Conclave of Wizards has been reduced to tier 3 to match the generic chain it replaces. Awesome. And it also grants 1 Battle Wizard capacity. Ooh. The player-controlled empire can now do full diplomacy with Marienburg. Wow, okay. That's really weird, because they were their own subculture. Very, very strange. This kind of gives me ideas for future videos, but we'll talk about that another day. Confederating Empire miners through the Empire Politics change now properly obeys the 5-turn Confederation. Yeah, okay, fine. And Volkmar has increased baseline aversion with undead factions. The aversion was always a little bit bad, but we're going to go with that. And, okay, battles. Prestige gained from battles is now visible in post-battle screen. Awesome. I'd love to see that, so that's great. Everything's been changed with Amber Bow, that's all cool. And fixed the order of Boris Todbringer's campaign skills. Weird. I guess preparing for the future? We have a few changes here to the faction and lord effects for Karl Franz. So faction effects now grant plus 25% prestige from all battles, which I think is very useful. And the Battle of the Empire skill that used to, the Best of the Empire skill that used to grant plus 5 leadership bonus, now has, plus 20% experience bonus for all units in Lord's army. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. When it comes to Lord effects, you've got the Guardian ability, okay, for Reichsguard and Greatswords, very useful. Plus 10 charge bonus, and you can now replenish in neutral territory. Okay, it's a bit weird. I mean, overall, I think a bit more is needed, but hey, I want to test this out and see how it works. No real big changes to the Tomb Kings, and that's kind of expected. The Tomb Kings are in a very good place. Really, all they need now is just some extra units and some new Legendary Lords, and they're pretty much golden. Like, right now, they can even get some mad cash, and I'm really happy that they did not get nerfed for that. Same thing with Tzeentch, barring the fact that Kairos has been moved, which he did really need. See, Tzeentch was a good faction, and still is a very good faction. It's just the start position was really grabbing him there. So, yeah, so far so good. I'm really happy about this. Let's see how the new start position goes, and then we can see about the future for Tzeentch. No real changes for both Vampire Coast and Vampire Counts, which kind of makes sense. The Vampire Coast still needs some help. I will be very honest. The Counts are perfectly fine at the moment, though. But the Coast do. The Coast needs something. Maybe in the form of DLC in the future with a little bit of a rework. I mean, they're fine, but it's very obvious that they're starting to lag behind. When it comes to the Warriors of Chaos, really there's not a lot to talk about. Yes, it's a big section, but it's mostly just fixing issues, right? Like fixing skills that weren't just going into the proper areas, that weren't working. It's a bit of a weird thing. There's a thing that I'm not too keen on, though. Festus, Azazel, Valkyria, and Village can now upgrade Demonic Infantry into their Exalted variants. Kind of kills off the point for Bellicor, doesn't it, a little bit? I don't know. Everything else is just perfectly fine. It's just literally fixing up the issues, which I'm really happy that they're doing this now. Because it shows that they're still determined that when a big DLC like this comes out, they'll go back and fix anything that might break by the time that it launches or anything. So yeah, I'm very, very, very keen. I'll be honest, I've not gone for the unit stats because it's just multiplayer stuff, so I really don't care anymore. I don't play multiplayer. I don't like it. It brings out the worst in me. You know, I'm a competitive tabletop player. That's enough for me. But we are getting a nice amount of changes for Sigvald, focusing him more to be Slaanesh rather than Chaos Undivided, and I'm actually really, really happy that they're doing that because, yeah, it just kind of makes sense. I wish they'd just change him overall and make him a pure Slaaneshi faction, but hey, this works too. As long as he's getting updates like this, it's better than nothing, right? We're moving directly on to the Wood Elves, and there's a really interesting update. So they've changed Orion to actually fit to be more like his lore. And I'm really happy about this. Okay, so look, changes to his faction effects, right? New effect, plus 50% movement range when in World Root stance. Cool. Minus 8% upkeep for each active war for Orion's army. Minus 4% upkeep for each active war for all other armies. Plus, you're getting removed all the stuff with the leadership and the upkeep for cavalry units. Yeah, you know, that's all right, you know? Then the changes to the Wild Hunt, right? So the duration's been turned down to 5, but the cooldown is now 10 instead of 20. New starts with the Wild Hunt already active turn 1, which is, I think, freaking awesome. Orion now gets 50% battle movement speed when the Wild Hunt is active, so he can keep up with his Wild Riders. I think that's freaking awesome. All characters gain plus 25% movement, after raising a settlement during the Wild Hunt. No cooldown on Deep Roots teleportation during Wild Hunt. The Lord effects are now, you do a lot more damage. I'm just really happy. And then you've got changes to skills too. Now grants plus 25% movement after a settlement is destroyed by Orion. This is the Never-Ending Hunt skill. Like, this is old school type of lore. I'm really, really happy. This is something that's just really impressive. Then when we start looking towards Durfu, they've also changed up his campaign because they wanted to give them a reason to play, because obviously it's either Durfu or Draika, and a lot of people would favor Draika because there's a more stylistic approach there. But yeah, look, this is pretty cool. So his Ancient Treemen now provide map-wide missile damage buffs, which is pretty cool. And Spellsingers and Ancient Treemen will become more powerful when working together. So you've got like a weird harmony light type of thing, possibly. Treemen can now tear down walls, which I think is pretty cool. All in all, this should be quite interesting. And we get some a little bit more details here. So in the faction effects, he gets Warbreaker, new attribute, Mastery of the Elemental Winds for all Ancient Treemen and Embedded Spellsinger heroes. Okay, we're going to have to check that out. New passive ability, Wrath of the Wood, map-wide missile damage buff when casting for Ancient Treemen. You remove some stuff, which is okay, fair. Then Lord effects, a few things have been removed, but passive ability, Resplendence of the Luminescence, AoE melee buff to all Treekin units, yeah, makes sense. And Annoyance of Nettings, AoE melee debuff for Treemen units. Oh wow, this is going to be quite tanky, isn't it? And you'll also get access to Draika's Forest Spirits chain. Okay, this is pretty cool. Alright, I'm actually kind of excited about this. I'm going to have to check out the Wood Elves. I generally don't play them a lot often. I must say that normally when you play one Wood Elf campaign, that's enough. But I'm looking forward to this. There's a few other minor changes here and there. Nothing too big, I think. So it's just a little bit of, making sure that the endgame scenario doesn't turn on you, essentially. And a few other things, which I think is alright. But, it's nothing, worthy enough to talk about, I think. I mean, it's on screen in case you want to see it. Alright, so now we're jumping into the actual campaign changes. Yeah, this is being a long video. We're about over an hour, I think, or close enough. And the first thing is we need to talk about is character experience. So in Warhammer 2, character experience from battle was based entirely on the result type of the battle. A heroic victory would grant a certain flat amount, and a crushing defeat much less. Yeah, fair play. In Warhammer 3, this was changed so that the value of the enemy army played a major role. While this resolved some issues, such as reducing the amount of XP you could get from trivial battles, it didn't address them all. Notably, battle result types continued to play a major part. Even though the logic producing them was not clear, whether you got a heroic, close, or Pyrrhic victory could often feel arbitrary and random. Okay, yeah, that was true. It was something experience gain was so weird. This also greatly disadvantaged the AI's own progression. Which tend to lose a larger portion of battles than the player. Alright, yeah. Additionally, the system resulted in substantially faster progression compared to Warhammer 2, especially fighting against high-value armies. While we are happy with the rate of experience gain being faster than Warhammer 2, it also greatly increased the range of XP you could earn from a single battle. This meant that the rate of progression could be radically different depending on factors such as starting position and playstyle. As such, we are making the following changes. Victory type is no longer used as part of the experience calculation. Instead, experience will be granted based on a combination of the enemy army's value and the proportion of the enemy army that was destroyed. Okay. Isn't that going to be a bit much though? Because that means you could get a lot of XP by farming undead factions. In other words, destroying 80% of the enemy army will grant the same amount of experience regardless of whether the battle was heroic victory or crushing defeat. After all, failure is often the best teacher. Okay, yeah, whatever. If the enemy army is fully destroyed as a result of the battle, for example, it was caught in force march stance and could not retreat, it will grant the full amount of experience even if some units were able to escape during battle. Yeah, this just looks like it's going to be easy to farm the undead factions more and more. The formula used to calculate experience has been adjusted to narrow the range of possible experience rewards. Experience gain will be around the same while fighting low and moderate value armies, but less when fighting very high value ones. Okay. Heroes will now gain around 50% more experience from participating in battles. Okay, yeah, I actually really like this. So that will actually be more useful to have them up and running. In addition to this, we're adding a new mentor skill to every lord and hero. This unlocks at level 30, and can be used to upgrade further at levels 40 and 50, and allows them to share a portion of their experience earned among characters of the same type across the faction. Oh wow. Plus the Lord version of the skill will grant increased experience to heroes in their army. Oh yeah, this sounds cool. I'm actually really keen on this. I don't know. I don't know what to think. Until I get to try it, I don't know what to think. Alright, so now we're going to go into the whole thing about settlement, garrison changes, unwalled settlements, all that type of stuff. So we continue to look for the sweet spot for the new unwalled settlement battle type. You know what the sweet spot would be? Just get rid of that stupid... No. I'm going to stop talking about the tower building thing because it's just screaming into the void. Anyways, the following changes will adjust the frequency of the battle type and reduce it, okay? How much will depend on the players and also the AI's playstyle. Additionally, we have lost some of the more detailed and nuanced pieces of content when we transitioned from Mortal Empires to Immortal Empires, but in the process of re-adding some of the flavor. Okay, so, what are they talking about? All major settlements will retain the wall settlement. Yeah, fine. All minor settlements will now trigger a land battle by default. Oh god, here we go. Added as an effect that has a chance to turn the default land battle into an old wall settlement. What? Why? Added an effect that has a chance to turn the default land battle into an old walled settlement battle, similar to the walled effect on major settlements leading to walled settlement battles. This effect has been added to most standard garrison chains starting 2 and 3. Okay, yes, I know a lot of people have said that. Just fix the system. Fix the system. Many people have just told you, just get rid of the whole real-time building thing. I know a lot of people put a lot of work into it, but it sucks. It really sucks. Or allow people to build at the start and that's it. You don't have the tower defense. You can enjoy the settlements. You've already lied because many of you guys won't remember, but they said that there was going to be loads of unique settlements all over the place and we wouldn't see the same settlement over and over again. It's annoying. I'm sorry. It's just very annoying when it's just brushing the actual problem under the table and it's just going to be worse. It's going to be the same thing. Especially as you see here, right? Like the ogres, the wood elves, the Norskans, the beastmen, they still have their usual same thing, which is just, it's just insane. And it's like, look at that, right? We'll change to a World Root battle version or a Beast Bath battle version. I don't want that. Nobody wants that. It's just going to make that fatigue come in further. Maybe that's just me. But I'm finding it really frustrating. Maybe it's just exhaustion kicking in or something, I don't know. But like, I don't feel like just making it land battles is going to fix anything. Because you're going to want to build up those garrisons anyway. So you're going to get to it anyway. Either fix the broken system. I'm not saying bring in the new maps. Because we need new maps, that's for sure. And I really hope by the end of the game's lifespan we get new maps. But either fix the broken system or put a toggle. That's it. Put a toggle. Yeah, no settlement battles, no settlement battles. There's toggles. It's possible. We've seen it already with loads of different things. I'm just getting frustrated because a lot of stuff that Creative Assembly does do is just like, oh yeah, sweep it on the rug. Sweep it on the rug. When we have mods that came in the next day that everything launched that can fix it. And I'm not saying modders are better. I'm just saying that a solution does clearly exist if that's the case. I don't know. We're gonna move on before I just get too angry because it's a long day. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. The last thing I want to talk about is apparently they've just upped the difficulty and they've also been able to make the AI smarter. This is going to have to be something that we're going to have to wait and see through our own testing. So when you guys go on today and start playing, I mean, there's some other stuff in the blog which is focusing around like sound and stuff. And it's like, why? and a lot of multiplayer stuff, but I don't cover multiplayer, so that you'll have to go to someone else. But apparently, we are getting some buffs, we are getting some nerfs somewhere. I want to see if we actually get a smarter AI here, because it's looking a little bit more, right? The thing is, it's very easy for Creative Assembly saying, yes, this works, but if it doesn't, then it's like, well, did you test it? It's very, very easy for them to say it works and then they just don't test it. I don't know. Overall, the patch seems good and I'm excited. I'm just a little tired and I'm hoping that things get a little bit better as time progresses. There's so much that really could be done with this game, especially with just like, you know, the potential with future DLC and all that. And there is some messages here regarding patch 2.3, which is scheduled for this year apparently. But we're not going to talk about that just yet. We're going to talk about that tomorrow, as I imagine that you guys want to talk about everything today about what's just launched, because it's just an absolute, it's a lot of stuff, man. It's a lot of stuff. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about the patch in the comments below. Let's start a bit of a discussion, and I'm going to go to bed. It's 5 a.m. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to set this to render. I'm going to go to bed. I'll see you guys when the patch drops.